Hello, and welcome to Constitutional Law and Policy 1. My name is Professor Crystal Barnett, and I will be your professor for the course this semester. I am really looking forward to our time together over these next 8 weeks. Now, before we really get into the videos for the course, I wanted to take a moment and introduce you to the course expectations, what we are going to be covering throughout the course, and just give you a little bit of a guideline and a roadmap, so to speak, of where we will be going for these next 8 weeks. Just to begin, this course is an introduction to the history of the Constitution and an overview of the structure, power, and limitations of each of the 3 branches of the federal government, as well as an overview of the authority of local governments. So the way that our semester is going to work is you will spend the first 2 weeks studying the history of the Constitution, which means we're actually going to start off in England, the history of our country, and we're going to work our way forward from England all the way until we get to the colonies, from the colonies to independence, and from independence to the writing of the Constitution. It's really important that we start off this way and cover the history because you can't really understand the document itself and learn more about the document itself if you don't understand its past, where it's been, and what the founders were, what their mindset was when they were writing this document. So we need to look to see, what did the founders learn? What was their thought process at the time that they were writing? And how does that implicate what was written and how we interpret that now in the future? So there are 2 required texts for this course. The first is actually a supplement that I've provided for you. When the course was originally developed, students were required to purchase a book by Kogan, and you'll find that in the videos that are provided for the rest of this course, which are provided by Professor Davids, the developer of the course, he frequently references this Kogan book. However, after the course was shortened to its present 8 weeks, as opposed to before when it was a semester-long course, we decided that adding the additional reading of the Kogan book was just too much reading for an 8-week period. So we've since eliminated that Kogan text, and we've created a supplement that has what we believe to be the most important documents that were originally in that Kogan text. Now, that supplement you do not need to purchase. I have created it as a PDF document for you. It's available within course content for weeks 1 and 2, which are the 2 weeks that we're going to use that supplement. So I encourage you to go ahead and print it out and bind it or staple it, hole punch it and put it in a 3-ring binder, whatever works for you. And that will be one of your texts for the semester. The second text that we will be using this semester is American Constitutional Law, the Structure of Government, and it is volume 1. Now I have to warn you, there are 2 volumes to this text. However, we just want the first volume. And the first volume is actually going to look like this. So this is what you're looking for when you go online. You want to look for Ralph Rossum and G. Allen Tarr's American Constitutional Law, and it says right here, Volume 1. Be sure that you don't get Volume 2, because while I do enjoy reading that text, and it's my favorite of the 2, that is the one that we use for Constitutional Law 2. So if you plan on taking Constitutional Law 2, then of course, by all means, go ahead and purchase both volumes. And you can purchase that textbook either through the Regent University bookstore or even online on Amazon. If you have any trouble acquiring the textbook, please let me know. I encourage you to go ahead and purchase it, make that order as soon as possible. The beauty of the way our course is set up is that you don't actually need the text until the 3rd week of class. So if you don't have that book yet, not a problem. Go ahead and download the supplement, because that's actually what we're going to start with. Now, our course is broken down into several major topics, and as I said at the beginning, part of that is because we have to start at the beginning, the history, and work our way forward from the history before we can delve into the Constitution itself. And so that's actually what's happening here. In our first week, we are going to be talking about the biblical foundations of law. We will be discussing biblical worldview and how that plays into law, how those intersect together, and also the history of our Constitution, like I said, beginning in England. And we'll be doing that over a 2-week period, so weeks 1 and 2, and that again is where your supplement comes into play. And also there are various documents on Blackboard course content for you to download and read as well. So you will not be using your text for this when we are learning the topic on biblical foundations of law and the history of our Constitution. When we get into week 3, now we're getting into our textbook. We're going to start off by studying the judicial system, its powers that have been granted to it according to the Constitution, and how that has been interpreted by the courts, which is interesting because they are the courts, the judicial system. And so that is when we will start reading cases. With the addition of cases, which are in your text, and I recommend that you read the version in your text because those have been modified. They've been shortened, and they've pulled out the most what they believe to be the most important parts, so you don't have to read the whole case. But with the addition of case reading comes the addition of case briefing, and so you will all be assigned to brief at least 2 cases, if not more, this semester, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the next slide. So starting with week 3, we'll be getting into the text, and we will be covering the judicial system, the legislative branch, the executive branch. We will spend 1 week on national security and foreign policy, which it makes sense that it comes right after our studies of the executive branch because those go hand in hand. And finally, we will end our final week with an introduction to the Bill of Rights, which will not come out of the text. It's sort of an introductory course or introductory material that leads into the second half of these courses, which is Constitutional Law 2 and Law 620. So kind of give you a little bit of a teaser there and see if that's something that interests you. So we'll be leaving the articles of the Constitution and focusing in Constitutional Law 2 on the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. So here's what you can expect from this course. In terms of where your grade is going to come from, you can see that it's broken down pretty evenly between 3 assignments, 3 and then 1 smaller chunk there. So discussion board posts will be worth 30% of your grade. And the way that breaks down is you will have the discussion board post and the responding post due 6 weeks out of the 8-week period. And so each of those 6 weeks counts as 5 points towards your final grade, for a total of 30 points towards your final grade. So it's important that you keep up with your discussion board post. Your initial response is due by Thursday evening at 11:59 p.m. and the responding posts are due by Sunday evening, 11:59 p.m. I have to warn you, I do typically grade Monday morning, so be sure that you are adhering to those due dates. And then the case briefs, which I spoke about in the last slide, those will come into play starting in week 3 of the semester. I will be handing out your case brief assignments. You will each be assigned cases to brief, at least 2, like I said. And it is important that you have your case brief posted in the discussion board section for that week in order for you to receive 10% of your grade, to receive credit there. There is a section on the discussion board post starting in week 3, and it says post your case brief here. So if you've been assigned a case brief, it's important that you post your case brief, like I said, by Thursday evening, 11:59 p.m. And that is 10% of your final grade. 25% of your grade comes from the midterm. The midterm will be during week 4, and it will be a combination of multiple choice, fill in the blank, some matching, no essay on the midterm. And then finally, you will have your final exam, and your final exam will be given in the last week of the course, and it will be worth 35% of your grade, and the format is very similar to that of the midterm. Now, I need to point out that this is a change from the original syllabus that was originally posted because the original syllabus did not give credit for case briefs. And when I look at the amount of work and time and effort that students are putting into their case briefs, especially because you will be briefing at least 2 cases this semester, if not 3, it just does not seem fair to give you credit for that work. So I have modified the syllabus so that case briefs are now worth 10% of your grade. You can think of it as in-class participation if you were, for example, taking the course in class, because if we were taking it in class, which I have taught this course in class, then those who were assigned a case brief would actually be asked to present the case and tell the rest of the class about their case, the facts of their case, and the rules of their case. So since we don't have that opportunity in this online setting, I'm still going to provide that 10% in the form of the case briefs, which just requires that you post your case brief. If you have questions about the case brief, what a case brief is, or how to write one, send me an email. Look under course resources under Blackboard. I've actually provided an example brief as well as a document on a formatting for how to write a case brief. For those of you that have taken MLaw 552, American Legal Thought and Writing, the case brief format that was provided in that course that you use for your assignment will work for this course as well. Please be sure that you read your syllabus very carefully. In fact, if you're watching this video right now and you have not downloaded and read your syllabus, I advise you to pause the video, stop now, go back to Blackboard, download the syllabus, and read it. Let me know if you have any questions regarding the course expectations or policies or anything like that. I am available via email as well as telephone. Okay. There are assignments due every week, so please be sure to keep up with your due dates and check Blackboard regularly for course announcements and updates. I typically make announcements at least once a week, but if I've discovered perhaps a flaw in an assignment, or if I need to change something, but maybe even a due date, especially when we get close to the midterms and finals, I will be posting updates and announcements regarding that. So please check into Blackboard regularly and make sure that you're aware of any changes that might be happening. Now, I know that announcements also typically are emailed to students, so check your email as well to keep up to date on the course. Finally, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any sort of issues that might be coming up, if there is any sort of emergency or situation in your life that prevents you from completing your assignments on time, please contact me. We are not heartless professors. We understand that life happens. I have a very stringent late policy, but that does not mean that it is that it cannot be modified when the situation warrants it. So email me is the best way to let me know if you're having any of these issues, a question or concern about an assignment or a policy, a comment about something that was assigned or provided to you, or you just have general issues that you need to relay to me. With the email, I will say that if you email me and you have not received a response from me within 24 hours during the weekdays, email me again, because it's possible for an email to be overlooked, to kind of get lost in the bustle and the hustle. And I don't want to overlook anyone's email, especially if you have a question or a comment, concern. If it is a time-sensitive issue that you have, I recommend that you call me or text me. Just let me know who you are. If you're texting, tell me which course this is. I do teach 2 classes this semester, so that way I can immediately go and see. And of course, I will be learning your names as the semester goes along as well. But don't hesitate to reach out to me for anything really related to the course, or any other concerns or issues that you may be having in regards to the MA in Law program. Well, like I said, I look forward to these next 8 weeks with you, and when you're ready, let's get started.